Benjamin Fulford Monday, November 18, 2013, Cabal is in surrender negotiations. Told to hand over $700 trillion or $10,000 for each human representatives of a committee of 15 individuals who claim to be in charge of the system for creating and distributing U.S. dollars and most other privately owned central bank currencies, are trying to arrange a peace agreement for the Cabal. They agreed last week, in negotiations with the White Dragon Society representatives, to initially make available $700 trillion, or $10,000 for each man, woman and child on the planet Earth to be delivered in the form of goods and services. They also agreed to debt forgiveness for all nations including, they say, some debts that date back to the 1700s. They also agreed to forgive most individual debts. The committee claims to be headed by 2 Asian men, each over 90 years old, and representatives of 5 Asian families, 7 European families and 1 Russian family. There was also a meeting last week between representatives of Asian banking clans and the WDS. These clans claim the rights to most of the world gold. They were also agreeable to the proposal to distribute $700 trillion to the people and nations of the world. However, there are still some powerful factions still clinging to the Zionist nightmare of starting Armageddon, notably the Cohen crime family in New York and an Italian P2 Lodge member by the name of Giuseppe D'Antonio, according to a high-ranking P2 official. D'Antonio is the man behind recent threats to kill Pope Francis, he said. This group has a highly organized faction inside Mossad and also sits atop the New York and Los Angeles-based media conglomerates, he noted. Their main financial instrument is Leumi Bank, he added. They also run various Pentecostal Christian cults, he said. A representative of the families mentioned above confirmed the existence of this group and said they would need help in dealing with them. It is true that New York is a highly gangster-contaminated city, and that is proven by the fact that mass murderers like the loathsome monster Toad Henry Kissinger and Larry Pullitt Silverstein are still strutting around like peacocks. It may be necessary to send in the militia from Minnesota to New York to start arresting these criminals and parading them in handcuffs in front of corporate media cameras so that all can see it is no longer business as usual for these scum. If the Minnesotans need help, doubtless Canadian Armed Forces can be made available upon invitation. The Californians also need to round up members of the Cohen gang in Los Angeles and can be sure of Latino help in doing so. If this does not take place, it will be proof for the people of the world that the once sovereign Christian Republic of the United States of America had become a slave state run by Satan-worshipping Babylonian not Jewish gangsters. The French, for their part, also helped the WDS last week by delivering paper documents revealing the exact coordinates of all the Google, NSA, Facebook, etc. computing centers in the United States. The unspoken threat in the delivery of this information is that these data centers can be taken out with intercontinental ballistic missiles. Preparations have also been made by the Europeans to cut off all intercontinental communications cables on the Atlantic seabed, if necessary. This is a response to NSA hacking of European financial and other computer networks. It is also a clear indication of how isolated the rogue U.S. regime is. Speaking about rogue U.S. regime, we have a new name to add to the list of known participants in the March 11, 2011 nuclear and tsunami mass murder attack on Japan, General Richard Myers, according to an agency source. General Myers was made chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Pentagon immediately after the 9/11 mass murder. If the American people do not start rounding up criminals like General Myers and putting them in jail, the international financial news being put around that country will continue to get tighter. Judging from the various news reports, the so-called Obamacare health insurance scheme, for example, appears to be just an effort by the corporate government in Washington, D.C. to steal some insurance money in order to keep itself from going under for a few more weeks. The Pentagon faction that claims to be using Obama as their representative needs to move in on New York and start arresting the Wall Street criminals ASAP if they want to save themselves. In any case, while the cleanup of the last pockets of Cabal resistance continues, proposals are being put on the table on how to distribute the promised $700 trillion. The Chinese government, including representatives from Taiwan, the Roman Catholic Church and the governments of South and Central America, the Japanese government and ASEAN, the Commonwealth of Nations provided and India is put in charge, France and Francophone Africa, the Republic of the United States and the government of Canada, Northern Europe plus Russia and the Islamic world. This is just an initial proposal based on the fact that these organizational structures already exist and have proven themselves to be relatively corruption-free. Of course, the Islamic nations will have to sort out their various historical disputes and select a single representative before funding will go in their direction. This WDS proposal is only limited to the existing US dollar system and does not exclude new government-issued currencies, grassroots currencies like Bitcoin or any plans by other independent groups. The proposal merely reflects the fact that these pre-existing groups could be able to carry out big projects almost immediately as soon as the money starts to flow. We do not make any predictions on how soon this will start to happen, but we can confirm that serious players have been meeting and that a general agreement exists now to start a massive campaign to save the planet.